this draft is going to be probably one of our most in-depth, more insightful ones. It's going to really challenge the entire crew here to make the right pick. And I feel like we're going to have to maybe even pick people that we would honestly at certain spots consider a trade back.
A
But
little bit of everything.
all right, we got a little bit of everything. We got all of our pick, as we would say, the pick of the litter staring at us in the face. I'm gonna make the play for Walter Nolen. Walter Nolen still sitting on the board. The Bengals have met or either are meeting with Walter Nolen this week. I've been on record saying that I think that they are enamored of him, think that they like him from everything that I've heard. I think Walter Nolen, although I think that he has a lot of growing to do as a pass rusher, the traits are all there. The traits are all there. I mean, the guy, he does have a pass rush. He does have the ability to rush the passer. We already know he can stop the run at a ridiculous rate. A little bit shorter, and you obviously know those pro comps have come in. They compare him to Geno Atkins. It's a guy I think that needs to get better with his hands, right? And I think the Bengals could be looking at it this way: Evan, Logan, and Daniel. I think they're saying to themselves potentially, if we again can get a guy that is a transcendent talent from the interior of the defensive line that can rush the passer, maybe that guy makes life a lot easier for Joseph Osai, Miles Murphy, Trey Hendrickson, and company. Yeah. I get that. I struggle with that. But for the sake of argument, I will say Walter Nolen makes a lot of sense here. If you're looking to get that dynamic pass rusher, to me, I'm considering Walter Nolen over a Derek Harmon. I'm considering Walter Nolen because I think that, again, you are getting the one pass rusher in this draft class that can do both at an elite rate. And I think that I feel like the issue with him can be the pass rush repertoire, getting more tools in the kit can be changed, can be fixed over time. I think Walter Nolen brings you something a little bit different at the defensive tackle spot. So for me, Walter Nolen makes a lot of sense here since we're going with the can't trade back scenario.
I think with Walter Nolen in general, I think that, I don't want to say concerns with the pass rush, but, just the more I sit and continue to watch Ole Miss film, it really feels like every person really had a plan, and these people executed it very well. You watch Princely off the edge. He's been in the corner every time because you know why? Because he knows he's got Walter Nolen just straight bull rushing down. He's got JJ just straight bull rushing down. Jared Ivey holding the other corner well. Like they as a unit work tremendously well. So I think I don't say that held Walter Nolen's pass rushing upside back a little bit, but I think it did because everybody had to work in unison. If one person kind of went off the guard a little bit, they would kind of just mess up the whole flow of the play. So, similar to kind of how Nick Scourton described his transition from Purdue to Texas A&M, it's sort of similar with Walter Nolen. Like he's a guy maybe when he's allowed to just play a little more freely, maybe he shows off a little bit more. Maybe he doesn't. But if he doesn't, you're still working with just about 11% pass rush run rate, six sacks last year, 7 sacks the year before, and a great run defender. If you're going to give me my defensive tackle is going to get 5-ish sacks a year and be one of the best run defenders in the league, that's still a pretty damn good draft pick at 17.
Yeah, I think the big upside with Walter Nolen that you see that maybe he has one of the highest ceilings, I think, in terms of being a complete player, in terms of not having a necessarily niche or very defined role that he can be in. He's an excellent run defender. His run stop rate is off the charts. He was very effective as a pass rusher, not always down to down productive in terms of pressures and sacks, but absolutely has that flash. And I think the encouraging thing is that the baseline is, even if it doesn't work out to the best, where he develops better pass rush moves and a better pass rush plan, his first step and his strength is good enough that he's going to be at least an above average run defender, and then also give you upside as kind of a gap penetrator using that quick first step and that athleticism. And if that's all he turns out to be, he's still a pretty good defensive tackle to have in your rotation, to who can be out there and not be a liability on rundowns or be a liability on pass downs. I think that's someone who gives you that complete profile and that upside. I do think that's really, really encouraging.
I was on the Twitter Spaces a little bit after the combine, and people were asking me what my input was on it. And they were saying, if the draft were today, who do you think the Bengals will draft? I said, if he's on the board, I think it's going to be Walter Nolen. I don't know if anybody caught me saying that, but I said, I think it's going to be Walter Nolen. Hear me out. I'm just reading the tea leaves. The last few offseasons, the Bengals have tried to get their own disruptor from the interior. And it felt like, all the while, I viewed Chris Jenkins very highly. it felt like they settled a little bit too, because he was like they knew they had to get a defensive tackle in there, but they also did like Chris Jenkins as well. Just wanted to visualize something. Imagine pairing Walter Nolen up with Chris Jenkins. What could that then look like? There are two guys that both can stop the run, but I also think that they're two guys that provide a lot of juice in the pass rush. So then you're not doing that mixing and matching thing. You got McKinley Jackson, and you still have a veteran, right? And BJ Hill still in the fold. And you have TJ Slayton, who they did bring in. I feel like it's going to be an interesting conversation when it comes if Walter Nolen is still on the board.
Yeah.
James Pierce Jr. and Mike Green. To be honest with you, how I feel, and I feel very strongly about that. I don't care what reports come out. I trust the people that I talk to. I feel like if it comes down to the draft, I really feel like it's down to these three prospects: Walter Nolen, Mike Green, and James Pierce Jr. I believe that. I think if those three are on the board, I feel like it's those three going away personally. It's like if you eliminate Walter Nolen from the equation, who is it? Is it going to be Mike Green or is it going to be James Pierce Jr.? My gut tells me it will be James Pierce Jr. But I feel like the reasoning for Walter Nolen makes a lot of sense. Although you will have a logjam at the defensive tackle spot, you definitely will. I feel like it makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons.
So real quick, and this kind of my question, and we were kind of discussing this on Twitter the other day. For me, the conversation with Walter Nolen is his pass rush upside worth more than these guys? And the reason why I say that is because you do have Chris Jenkins, and you did just spend a second-round pick on him. The only reason and the only way I feel confident enough to draft Walter Nolen is if I say, hey, this guy is going to be that dominant pass rusher. Because if I'm not sold on that, I don't think I can take him over these guys. So what's your guys' thoughts on that? Are you guys fully sold on that pass rush? Because
you go ahead.
My thought is, okay, McKinley Jackson. Are you sold on him as a pass rusher? Okay.
No.
All right. Chris Jenkins. Are you sold on him as a pass rusher?
No.
Okay. BJ Hill is the veteran who is probably your best pass rusher.
Yeah.
Okay. And then TJ, who they just signed. Are you confident that he's making a difference on pass rushing downs?
Not for 4+ years.
So we're already talking about just by his first step and being able to shoot the gap alone, he's already probably down the best pass rusher you have. I think even
he might be down the best defensive tackle.
Right. And so that's what I say is like, this guy could just be the starter for you immediately. Yeah. This is an example of what they should have done in other positions where they filled some gaps a little bit to where you don't have that dire glaring need.
Walter Nolen is a guy that can play every single down and be fine. That's the upside of him with a guy like Chris Jenkins, like Malik was talking about. Like that duo could become so fun because they're two guys that can play the run phenomenally well. And even if they are both just average pass rushers, being able to do that together and play the run, do things so well right next to each other, just provides so much more upside as everybody. I think in general, like Walter Nolen is a better version of Chris Jenkins because they're great run defenders. They have some work to do in the pass rush, but if they both just continue to slightly improve their pass rush, now you have two elite run defenders with two above average pass rushing defensive tackles that play every down.
Let's do Walter Nolen.
Yeah, perfect. All right, with the 17th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, Cincinnati Bengals select Walter Nolen, defensive tackle, Ole Miss.
I like it.
All right,
I like that.
here's something different.